Hello and a very warm welcome to another edition of Talking Germany, the show where we do just that. Now, the figures show that women are severely underrepresented at the highest levels of German business. So to find out why and what can be done and to discuss the world of business in general, we've invited a woman who's a very familiar face among the emerging generation of business owners here in Germany. And here she is, Marie-Christine Ostermann. Thank you very much for joining us on Talking Germany today. Now, Marie-Christine Ostermann doesn't just run her own company, she's also the head of the German Association of Young Entrepreneurs. What's more, she's made quite a reputation for herself as somebody who has no inhibitions when it comes to speaking her mind. So I'm sure we can look forward to hearing what she has to say about the following topics. Woman at the top, Marie-Christine Ostermann says she knew when she was just 16 years old that she wanted to take over at the head of her family's business. Job offers, no takers. Many companies in Germany are desperately seeking new young employees and are going to unusual lengths to find them. And demographic divide. We look at the tensions that arise when fewer and fewer young people have to work harder and harder for the pensions of the elderly. Marie-Christine Ostermann, I have heard that I am not allowed to ask you about you being young, female and blonde. I have heard that you do not like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I read that somewhere, and I read that you said that what you want to be asked about is what you do and your dealings with other people. I thought that was very interesting, so I thought I would start by asking you, what do you do? Tell us exactly what you do.
Well, I'm an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I'm a successor in our family business, Rulco, in Hamm in Westphalia.
Okay.
And this is a foodstuffs wholesaler.
Yeah.
And we are delivering food to nursing homes and hospitals. Okay.
How many employees do you have?
We have 150 employees.
Okay. And what's your annual turnover?
Our revenues are about 70 million euros in a year. Yeah.
So that's what you do, and you also said you were you want to be asked about your dealings with other people. How do you deal with other people?
Well, I think I'm doing fine. I mean, in our company, I'm a partner. I'm the managing director. But I mean, our employees, they can decide much by themselves, many decisions, and yeah, they have a lot of responsibility. And I'm not controlling them all the time. And I think it's much fun to work at our company.
Wonderful, wonderful. A businesswoman who talks about fun at work, yeah? I mean, I mentioned it in my introduction there. One fine day, when you were 16 years old, you decided, yeah, you're going to take over your dad's company, yeah? Just describe that moment for us.
Yeah, my father always told me to do what I love to do in life. And I should have fun, and he did not say you really must take over this family business. You should do what you love doing, and so because he really did not try to push me, it was very interesting for me, the company, and so I decided, oh, I really want to do this. This is my future, and yeah, it was always my dream to take over that company.
I'm amazed. I'm sitting here with a businesswoman who's talking about fun, who's talking about dreams, who's talking about fulfilling dreams. This is wonderful. We'll talk more about all of that shortly. You've had your first impressions there from Marie-Christine. Here is more.
Marie-Christine Ostermann is the boss of 150 people, mostly men. Today she's attending a business conference in Frankfurt. In the world of executives and managers, women are still a relative rarity. At lunchtime, the 34-year-old meets with other businesswomen. They trade stories about dealing with employees.
It's not always easy being the boss. It's different. A man would simply elbow his way through. I have different methods.
Her employees are well acquainted with their boss's ways. She's been running the wholesale company Rulco since 2006. Her father, the managing director, gradually turned over control of operations to his daughter. Workers had to get used to taking orders from a woman.
It's unusual. You deal with it differently. You have a little more distance. It's not as chummy as it is amongst the men.
Initially, the role was also an unaccustomed one for Marie-Christine Ostermann, but she learned how to assert herself. She expects other women at the company to do the same and doesn't want quotas for women. She earned her spurs with an apprenticeship in banking and management training at a supermarket discounter. Her father was pleased.
She completed her training with distinction. She went to Aldi first. Then I was certain she's the one. And she can do it.
As a child, Marie-Christine Ostermann was shy and introverted. She had a sheltered childhood in the town of Hamm, far from the hustle and bustle of work. But when she was only 16, she decided she'd take over the family business. She studied economics in Switzerland to lay the foundations for her future. There's been no time to start a family of her own yet, but she says it will happen someday. Her current baby is Germany's National Association of Young Entrepreneurs, the BJU. She's been its chairwoman since 2009. And today she's our guest on Talking Germany, Marie-Christine Ostermann.
It's interesting in that report about your early days, there are some lovely photos, and it says you were shy and introverted back then. Is it really true?
Yeah, I was very shy as a child, and it took me a long time to really become, the managing director in our company. But what helped me was my very strong will, my discipline, and this goal. The family business was my dream. I really wanted to do this, so I really worked hard to achieve my goals. Yeah.
And when you made the decision that we talked about, when you thought, yes, I am going to go for it, I'm going to go for this, for the job at the top of the company. Did you have any female role models in mind? Did you have role models around you, or was it out of the blue? Was it on your own initiative?
Well, my only female role model was my great-great-grandmother. Yeah, she was a very strong person, and she managed the company like 20, 30 years ago, before my father came to the company. And she was a very strong person, and she was my role model.
That's interesting. And one of the things we're talking about here, a process that is happening in Germany, which I think is a very interesting process, is that there was a post-war generation of people, mainly men, who set up companies in the way that your father, at least he took over and carried on the company tradition. And then they handed over the company to the next generation, which are people like you. And that process has been full of tensions here in Germany, lots of problems, because the elder generation hasn't wanted to let go.
Yeah. That's always the big problem, that elder persons don't want to let go, they don't want to give away responsibility, they want to make the decisions by themselves alone. But in our company, the relationship between me and my father is quite good, and it's open-minded, and we are very honest. But he thinks I'm a good person, I'm a good boss in the company, and I feel his trust, and that's a good thing.
Okay. Did you? I must ask you, however, were you ever when you were younger? Were you ever a rebel? Did you sort of listen to loud music all night or slam doors? Did that happen?
No, never. I was just a normal little girl, quite shy. I was very disciplined. I was good at school, and I was very focused. But I was just a normal girl.
We've talked about your approach to the workforce that you have. Yeah. Just tell me a little bit more about, because in the report that we just had, we had one of the guys at the company was saying, in the old days it was much more chummy because it was men sort of shaking hands and what have you. You can't adopt that approach. You have to take a different approach, and I know you've said that. Just tell us about your approach.
Yeah, before I came to Rülko, I went to Aldi Süd as a management trainee, and I really worked in the stores, and I really worked with the other people in the company, so I'm really practiced and I know all the processes. So when I came to Rülko, I was really good skilled. And so the other people knew that I was a good person, a good leadership person, and so there were no problems.
So you had real credibility.
Yeah, I had credibility.
Yeah. So you'd actually been out there, you'd been stacking the shelves and doing all those jobs as well. You actually knew what that was like.
Yeah, I really know all those processes in detail because I also worked in the stores at Aldi Süd and made all the things by myself too.
Yeah. These days you're making much bigger decisions about the strategic future of the company. You're making decisions perhaps about how to hire and fire people, all those kind of things. Is that a lonely... I mean, you talk about fun, but it could be a very lonely job.
Yeah, when you're the boss, you're quite lonely because you cannot be friends with the other employees in the company. Because you are the boss, there has to be distance. That is very important. But on the other hand, there's the Association of Young Entrepreneurs, and I have my friends there, for example. And I work together with my employees, and I don't feel alone at all because we work in a team. And yeah, that's good.
Okay. Now, we're talking about the German economy, and when people look at the German economy, there's a tendency to focus on the heavyweight blue-chip companies, the giant car makers, the chemicals companies, or the big engineering groups. But just as important are what they call the SMEs, the thousands of small and medium-sized enterprises, many of which are family-owned and run.
There are close to 3 million family-owned companies in Germany. They account for nearly 95% of all businesses in the country. Many are located in North Rhine-Westphalia, like furniture maker Core.
Family firms are more about than just doing business. It's something close to your heart. It's our life we're talking about.
A company is considered a family firm when the owners hold a majority of shares and have family members in the management. And that's where their advantage is. With ownership and management in one hand, these companies are often more flexible and less bureaucratic. Germany's biggest family firms are the engineering and electronics giant Robert Bosch and the Metro retail concern.
That was a short little summary of something that's very important for Germany, that there are the small and medium-sized enterprises, the SMEs, what you call in Germany and people in English business parlance call the Mittelstand, and then there are all the family-owned companies. And often it's the same thing. That certainly your company is in both areas, yeah? Just tell me about the ethos, the mentality of the Mittelstand in Germany, because that's very, very important to understand that, I think, to understand German business.
I think those companies are very long-lasting. For example, our company was founded in 1923. Yeah. That's a very long time, so those companies are very traditional and really rooted to their hometown and really personal because all the employees are there for a very long time, and you're not short-term focused, but really you're thinking in the long run, and that's very important for the success of those companies.
And what happens to the profits? Who takes the profits? Do the profits go back into the company? How does that work?
Most of the profits are often reinvested into the company, really for a secure future for the company. And sometimes, for example, you give some of the profits to shareholders and also to employees for their hard work. But most of them are really reinvested into the company. Mm-hmm. And the equity is very important for the creditworthiness, for example, when you need a credit from the bank.
Mm. And this business model, would you say that is the main reason why the German economy is holding up so well at this time of, acute financial crisis around Europe and really globally?
Yeah, I think it's the main reason why Germany is so strong economically seen, because all those medium-sized companies are very strong. They don't have much debt. So it is really a very secure business. And the reason for this is that you have a unity of risk and responsibility. Mm. So people act really long-lasting and they think about the future of the companies, and so the profits are good and the debt is very low. Mm-hmm. that's the basis.
There's one question I've got to ask you, because I know a lot of people out there will be thinking this. This is, I mean, the kind of, you're talking about the principle of solidarity in the way you run your company, which is also, it's a cornerstone of the social market economy here in Germany. But, you know, the question people will want to know is, you have to fire people as well.
Yeah, I also have to fire people. I mean, you said it too, it's not just only fun to manage such a company, and sometimes the decisions you have to make are quite hard, but it's important sometimes for the company. For example, when an employee doesn't really fit to the company or made very big mistakes, then you really have to separate from that employee. That's the thing. That's the game.
Okay, and you in your company, you've got you told me you've got a workforce of 150.
Yeah.
How many of those are sort of at the management level?
I don't know. In the highest management level, we are, for example, 7 people. My father and me, and then, for example, the sales manager, purchasing manager, storage manager, cash and carry manager, computing, administration.
Yeah. And I've got to ask you, because I know this might not be representative, but I need to know about your company. How many of those that you've just mentioned, how many of them are women?
Lots of them are women. In the highest level, 30% in our company.
Okay, which is much higher than the average in Germany.
Yeah. That's
First of all, well, I suppose the two questions then are, why is it higher in your company and why is it so low in Germany in general?
I think it's higher in medium-sized companies in general. 25% of all the family managed businesses in Germany are managed by a woman, and that's a good thing. I think the conditions in those companies are often better than in very big firms. I mean, you have flexible working hours, you have home office possibilities, and you need better conditions for women in those companies to have a high-level job. And also to have children. Okay,
but the fact remains that in Germany the percentage of women in top executive posts is really very low in European and global comparison even, and certainly in countries like the Scandinavian countries they've introduced quotas for women, which have really moved the situation along. They've broken up old structures. You're opposed to those kind of quotas. It's a big debate here in Germany, and I'm interested to hear why.
I'm opposed to those quotas because women would be reduced on their gender, and I think we really should focus on qualification and not on gender. And I think we need better conditions. For example, daycare facilities for children, for example. That's what we need, and then more women could manage a career and their children together. But we don't need a quota. This is planned economy, and that's not good for the companies too, because an entrepreneur must decide by himself if he wants to hire a man or a woman, and the qualification is what matters and not the gender.
And just a little word about the women themselves, because I know quite a lot of women who are very highly qualified and could move up into very high positions, but quite a lot of them, and certainly in comparison with the Anglo-Saxon economies, are pulling back and saying, I don't want to go there. That looks a little bit tough to me.
Yeah, sometimes women are just not interested in those top jobs. And for example, most of the women are not studying mathematics, for example, and they're deciding for jobs which do not offer big chances for the top managing director job then.
Yeah.
But that's a question of interest and what you want to do in life. And it's okay if a woman doesn't want to be a top manager.
Sure. Okay. Regardless of whether it's men or women, there are, it seems, a growing number of smaller German companies that are having problems recruiting anybody at all. We have this report.
Mario Dietrich turned a family firm in the town of Kolditz into a company with over 100 workers. He once had 12 apprentices. Now he's down to 1. Hardly anyone wants to be a baker anymore.
Das macht uns große Sorge.
We're really concerned. Apprentices are important because they're trained replacements. We're quite worried about the future and hope this won't force us to give up the business.
Nowadays, few young people want to be bakers. That's why Mario Dietrich decided to pay any apprentice who trains with him 1,000 euros. He calls it welcome money. Now he's hiring 4 new workers, and he hopes they're not just in it for the cash bonus. Master butcher Christian Jäger of Homberg-Efze in northern Hessen has also figured out a way to attract young workers. He offers apprenticeships on a part-time basis. For one trainee, Helena, this was just the ticket. As a young mother, she would otherwise have difficulty finding an apprenticeship.
With a child, your chances aren't great. Many places tell me no, that I wouldn't be flexible enough because I have a young child at home.
Being a butcher isn't a dream job for most young people nowadays. But for Patrick, it is. However, though he's strong on the practical aspects, he's weak on theory. Christian Jäger found him a tutor and also helps him with his studies.
If Patrick hasn't understood something or failed a test, we sit down and have another look at it.
Before, Christian Jäger had his pick of applicants. Now he's got to woo them.
If I don't do anything, I don't get any applications. We post ads at the Labour Office and hang up posters at our meat counter.
They've taken it a step further in Deggendorf, Bavaria. The region is booming. Companies can't find apprentices, whether they're construction workers or cooks. That's why the district is bringing in apprentices from its partner town of Burgas in Bulgaria. Although there's been criticism about importing workers, in the kitchen of the Bayerischer Wald, they're happy with their new apprentices.
Butchers, bakers, cooks, hospitality staff. We're having trouble finding people, and the young people who do come here aren't really interested in the work.
And given the way that Germany is aging, it's likely that the scarcity of apprentices will be a growing problem.
The basic problem there is that German companies, some German companies, at least those ones, can't find young recruits, can't find young apprentices. Is that a problem that is familiar to you, either in your business or through your own association of entrepreneurs?
Yeah, it is also a problem. We get less and less applicants, and also the quality is not that good. And every year the problems become bigger. I don't know why.
What is the rate of youth unemployment in Germany? Would you know an answer to that question?
Oh, it's not quite high. It's about 9%, I guess. It's not that high, but I think it's a problem that people in Germany get older and older, and you don't have that much younger people in Germany anymore.
Maybe that is the problem, yeah?
Yeah.
So it's a demographic shift, yeah?
And also our educational system is not the very best. For example, you don't have economics and business administration as a subject in every school. And so when applicants come to us, their qualification is not that.
Oh, this is very interesting. I mean, a lot of employers, they say the young people of today, they can't do maths, they can't write properly and all these kind of things. You're going a step further and saying they don't have a training in basic business principles.
Yeah.
That's something you would like to see happen.
That's a big problem. Yeah, you really need business administration as a subject at school. Yeah, you really need that.
This is very interesting because this begs the question. The German economy, I think an awful lot of people around the world, they still, and Europe for sure, they look at Germany and they say everything's going so well still. Yeah? Are you confident that, I mean, given what you're saying, is that going to be maintained? Because Germany needs really bright young people, needs dynamic young people, needs well-trained young people.
Yeah, I mean, in comparison to other countries like Greece or Spain, Germany is better. That's right, because our job market is more flexible, for example, and I guess our educational system is better, but not all the times. But we still have the problem that many young people are not interested enough, and that the basic qualification is not good enough. For example, I asked them about Miss Merkel, for example, or also about our company, Rulco, and then some young people don't even know the name of our company, or they don't know Miss Merkel, and then I'm like, oh my God, what's going on here? Yeah, and that's a problem. But nevertheless, you also have some good applicants too.
Do you understand this though? I mean, it's a thing that we end up talking about here quite a lot on Talking Germany, that at German schools there appears to be a real fundamental problem and a lack of drive and ambition. Do you understand that?
I do not really understand this, but it's a trend. It's really a trend that many young people are not really interested and maybe also not motivated. Maybe some teachers are not good enough. The quality of our educational system must be better.
It leaves a lot to be desired. That's a problem. You mentioned the Chancellor, Angela Merkel, in passing. From your Association of Young Entrepreneurs, I'd like to hear your point of view there, because an awful lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs in Germany say the government isn't doing enough to support us, to support our efforts here. Is that a point of view that you agree with?
Yeah, I mean, we still have many problems in Germany, and one of the biggest problems is that we also our country is very indebted. We have much debt.
Yep.
And this is also a problem of generation justice, and that's the thing young entrepreneurs are fighting for.
I'm smiling because that takes me on exactly now to where we want to go next. But before I go there, I'd just like to ask you, as the head of the Young Entrepreneurs Association, what would be one thing that the government could do to improve the lot of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship in Germany? That would interest me.
I think the most important thing for the long future is that our social security system gets better, and we need not the pay-as-you-go system, but a funding system for our pensions, we example.
Yep.
Because we have less younger people and much older people.
Okay. We're going right there where we're going to go next on the show. We're going to go from one end of society, from the young people entering the labour market that we've just been looking at, to the elderly. And why? Because of the problem that we were just talking about and just describing. Germany, like many other countries, is an ageing society, and that's a growing problem when it comes to working out precisely what we've been talking about. Once again, who is supposed to pay for the pension system?
Germany is aging dramatically. Currently, 2 people in work support 1 pensioner. But demographers say in 3 decades, the ratio will shrink to 1 to 1.
Demographic problems are equity problems. That means they developed politically. Policy can prevent inequities, but the will must be there and be followed by action. In this case, there's a need to act early on. If it isn't done, it would be like sitting in a trap you can't get out of.
The pensions controversy is a current one, especially as a new increase in payments had just been agreed. The young say the elderly are living at their expense.
If you're talking about generational equity in pension terms, there's a key number. It's the relation of the pension contribution of each cohort or generation to the buying power of that contribution. Someone born in 1970 gets 25% less from the pension system than someone who was born in 1940. It all comes down to numbers. Old age pension systems discriminate against the younger generation.
Some say that's hardly surprising, given the increasing party political clout among the elderly. More than half of all active members of parties are over 60. And surveys show that the elderly vote is absolutely vital for any party hoping to win the next general election. Even the German Chancellor knows that, so she's courting senior voters while placating young Christian Democrats.
No, we're not run by pensioners. You can still win elections in Germany without the seniors' vote, but that will change soon. All the major parties know that, and that's why they're working so hard on the older generation.
Some observers have a more distinct point of view.
We're living more in a type of democracy where it's no longer ruled by the people. Ruled by the elderly would better describe it. A gerontocracy, if you like.
But there's a flip side as well. Young people have come to this home for the aged in Berlin's Kreuzberg district to learn from the seniors. Here, the multi-generational viewpoint is the same as that of the experts. They say the government has simply failed to deal with the same old problems.
That's interesting that the experts were mentioned there, because you are somebody who does have a lot of expertise and practical knowledge about this whole issue of pensions in Germany and how to pay for pensions. Just tell me once again, outline for me the problem as you see it.
The problem is that we have less and less younger people working in Germany and more older people getting pensions. And the younger people, they have to produce the pensions. And when you have more and more older people and less younger people, then those fewer younger people cannot produce all the revenues for the pensions. It's not possible anymore.
So you cut the pensions?
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now, because otherwise it's not possible to hold on to this system, and that's why I have the opinion that we need more capital funding, that every person for himself or herself has to economize for their own future more and more. And that's the funding system.
And do you think that should be free choice, or that should be something that is mandated by the state? The state should say, look, you know, an additional 7% of your income needs to go off there for the future, for your pension in the future.
That should be mandated.
You think so?
Definitely, because otherwise nothing will change. Then the pay-as-you-go system will stay, because for the short term it is okay right now, but in the future we cannot afford the system anymore. And we really need change now.
Do you experience your generation as being an angry generation about this issue?
Yeah, we are quite angry about this. I mean, we are quite young and we are talking to politicians, but they don't want to hear anything about this issue because it's not popular at all.
And you're talking here about politicians across the board. You're talking about the different parties, not
different parties, and they are all not interested in this pension thing and social security system thing, because it's quite unpopular and it's a very difficult topic. And for the short term, we don't need to change anything, but in the long run, 20, 30 years, then we will have the problems. But they're not interested in changing anything right now, because the politician, he's ruling the country for a few years, and then there's
4
somebody
years in
else.
office at best, But what that means, what you're saying, is that Germany is, to use that ugly word that we had in the report, a gerontocracy in some ways. Yeah, that really it's the older generation who are dominating the debate there, at least in this respect.
The older generation is dominating the younger generation, because there are more and more people getting older. That's the thing. But both sides have to talk with each other, and you need solidarity from both sides.
Oh dear, oh dear. So we're talking, that's one big problem that Germany is facing at the moment. We've talked about it, that Germany is demographically an ageing society. And we've also talked about another big problem, that's the debt crisis in Germany and in Europe in general. Yeah? At the moment, we're in the process, there's been now 2 huge bailout packages that have been signed, sealed and delivered to Greece. And that means huge transfers, effectively, from the German taxpayer via the EU to Greece, indirectly. You're opposed to that, as I understand it.
Yeah, we're opposed to that because we, as an entrepreneur, we live the principle risk and liability in one hand, the unification of risk and liability. And this is quite important also for institutions like banks, but also for countries, because everybody has to be responsible and liable for their own decisions. And what we don't need is a transfer union, because then you only get more debt, and the younger generation has to repay all the debt in future, and this wouldn't be possible.
Okay, but we are the wealthy northern countries here. Germany is the wealthiest, along with the Dutch, maybe the Austrians and what have you. Germany needs the other European countries.
Yeah, but the other European countries also need a strong Germany. And when Germany just only pays money and money and money and gets weaker and weaker, and other countries are not motivated to impose structural reforms because of the transfer union, because all of the money, then that's a very, very bad thing in future.
It sounds a little bit, though, like the lazy Greeks argument.
A little bit, yes. What we really need, but not only in Greece, also in Spain, in Italy, in other countries, are structural reforms. They have to get competitive again, those other countries.
Okay. Let's. I know you've got very strong views here, and you've actually been out on the street and protesting. Yeah, and that's interesting. Yeah, it's a little bit unexpected. Let's just have a look at the pictures, and maybe you can tell us what we're seeing here. Yeah, where you and others went out and about.
Businesses got to get
what's going on there?
We went onto the streets and we made a big campaign telling everybody Euro rescue, not in this way, please. We don't need a transfer union. We need risk and liability in one hand.
Okay.
And it's not the right thing just to pay money to other countries, because Germany gets weaker and weaker and other countries lose their autonomy. They cannot make decisions by their own because of all those austerity packages. And it's a very dangerous situation right now. And so we went on the streets to fight for our visions.
And as I say, you have very strong views, but you enjoyed that.
Yeah, of course.
You had a big smile on your face, yeah? You were enjoying being out on the street and protesting.
Yeah, because I think it's very important also for the younger generation to go on the streets and say, hey, I mean, all this debt, all this money, we have to repay the debt in future. And we cannot do this because it's way too much. And this means no help for the other countries too, because when Germany is going bankrupt too, then the rest of Europe is bankrupt also. So it's no solution, the transfer union, not at all.
Great stuff. I've just got to ask you one very quick question. When you were doing the graffiti stuff on the pavement, and was that real paint?
No, it was rain was coming down, and so you haven't seen anything anymore of 3 hours later. So
okay, so no big problem with the authorities there.
Yeah, it was not waterproof.
Okay, it was a benign protest. Okay, well, here we don't just want to talk about the world of work and economics on this show, so we've decided to focus a wee bit too on one of Marie-Christina's hobbies. Climbing is the one we chose to focus on, and in this instance, in this report at least, what they call bouldering in particular. I hadn't heard of it, but it's clearly something of a trend.
Getting up the wall without a rope or net is what bouldering is all about. The aim is to be the fastest, using the colored hand grips.
Climbing is like a drug for me. There are always new challenges to master.
It's not just strength. With a bit of technique, you can do so many different moves and many different routes. It's brilliant.
Bouldering began in the 19th century. It's been a sport climbing discipline since the 1970s with its own competitions and championships. The possible routes through the course are marked by the colored grips.
It's difficult terrain, and the more you practice, the more you're likely to make it.
The upper 10 are really, really tough for me. That one over there is a good example.
The darker the hand grip color, the more difficult the route. It's a good thing that the floor is padded.
Bouldering? Have you done it?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah, bouldering and climbing in general. Yeah.
Bouldering.
I like that.
Yeah, I didn't. I had never heard of it. It looks like very good fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
How fit are you?
Yeah, I would say I'm quite fit. I'm doing this 2 or 3 times in a month, and it's a good workout.
And the one thing I discovered when I was reading up on it is that those mats that you fall back on are called bouldering mats. Yeah, did you know that?
Yeah, and you need those mats because otherwise the ground would be very hard.
I was reading one of your personal profiles on the internet, and it said in the personal interests section, said entrepreneurship, economic policy, food. Yeah, is that one of your hobbies?
I mean, food is the business of our company, and so that's
I
why
see.
I'm
It was all about that. It was all about that. Yeah. When it says here economic policy being one of your interested areas, I was. What are you going to do next? Are you going to stick in the family business now for? Is that the foreseeable future?
Yeah, that's the thing. I would like to stay in the family company for the rest of my life.
Cool. And one thing I must ask you is, because it's also part of this debate we've had about women in business, yeah? Even when you were to have a child or children, how would that affect, your job as head of a company?
I don't think that would be a problem because we are a team, a leading team in the company, and it's not just me, but also other employees in the company. So I can give away responsibility to other people then and care for the child. But only part-time.
Lucky you. And there's one other question I want to ask you, because you've been talking about German politics and how German politicians are getting it wrong around the bailout crisis and the pile-up of debts. Have you ever thought about going into politics?
I thought about that, and I really want to stay in politics too, over the Association of Young Entrepreneurs. But the main job I'm doing is entrepreneurship and Holco.
Okay, not frontline politics.
No.
Because you're made for it. You're absolutely made for it. Yeah? I think you'll be in the cabinet in about a week. Okay, we're going to round up with our traditional Talking Germany quiz at the end of the show. Relatively quick questions, quick answers. Jogging or climbing?
Climbing.
Climbing, I thought you were going to say that. Sport, we just talked about sport, is about teamwork. So give me an honest answer. Is business about one person calling the shots or about a team working together? Honest answer.
For me, it's teamwork.
What's more important, family or career?
Family.
Free market economy or social market economy?
Free market economy, but with a social welfare system.
Who are the better managers, women or men?
Both.
We didn't talk about that one. I think we should have done, yeah? OK, that's your lot for Talking Germany this time round. A great guest, Marie-Christine Ostermann. If you've enjoyed her company as much as I have, then do come back next week. Until then, bye-bye and tschüss.